Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a sloppy sports and entertainment talk show about the New York Giants, the New York Mets, movies, comedy, TV, and a whole lot more. It's hosted by a giant mess, that's me, Real Cinch Neal Lynch. I'm a plump and furry Irish-Italian-American who graduated from a Catholic high school but isn't Catholic, and went to a college known for producing doctors and lacrosse players and then became neither. Instead, I'm a blogger, vlogger, podcaster, writer, editor, video optimizer, content strategist, and failed stand-up comedian. Also a dad, a son, a brother, a cousin, a friend? I don't know. A stranger. I have a voicemail. You can leave one at that voicemail, 862-BIT-1986. That's 862-BIT, as in comedy bit, and 1986, as in the last year the Giants and Mets both won a World Series, a World Championship in the same season. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel by doing a search for Neal Lynch, Real Cinch, or Giant Mess. I think it's just youtube.com/Neal Lynch or youtube.com/Real Cinch. If you pick one, just give it a shot. Plug it in the old computer machine. You can follow me on my blog, that's neallynch.com, facebook.com/Giant Mess. I'm Real Cinch on Twitter and Insta. You can also subscribe to me on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I don't think people listen to podcasts anymore, do they? In COVID, don't you just like slap on some Disney Plus or whatever you got going on the TV instead? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. On today's episode, we're going to talk about opt-outs. I'm about to opt out from this fucking podcast. The way things are going. Yoenis Cespedes opted out. Didn't bother telling the team. Marcus Stroman opted out. He did bother to tell the team. So what do the Mets do with the pitching rotation now that Stro's out and Michael Wacha is on the IL with shoulder inflammation? We'll also talk about the Giants. Sam Beal has opted out. The legend of Sam Beal grows. Will we ever see him prosper in a Giants uniform? Probs not. And Deandre Baker has officially been charged. And I don't foresee him being in a Giants uniform. So what do the Giants do in the secondary? We'll talk about the reported signing of Ross Cockrell that wasn't finalized. And then do the Giants go after Logan Ryan? Probably not after you hear what we have to say. So let's get into it. Let's dive right on in. Not a whole lot going on in my life other than I gave myself a horrendous haircut. And if you're watching the video, you'll be able to see it. You go to the YouTubes, sometimes on Facebook, sometimes on Instagram. I'll post videos there. I might not post videos this go around because this is pretty bad. This is the second time I've cut my own hair during COVID. And the first one went all right. I kind of looked like a Nazi youth. I didn't know how to blend the right side. I think the left side looked fine, but blending the right side just didn't go my way. I didn't know how to do it. And you'd think I would know after 30 plus years of getting my hair cut, with the barber, I'd pay a little attention, but I get in that barber seat and I fall asleep. I don't want to talk, first off, and I know that's bad. Barbershops are where you need to shoot the shit if you're a guy. Talk about your latest conquests, accomplishments, achievements, downfalls, pitfalls, your woes, your sorrows, highlights, lowlights, what have you. Not me, not for me. I want to go in there. I want you to be focused. And I need to be, and I almost fall asleep every time I'm in the barber chair. Didn't realize that barbers were open again. I just didn't realize that was a thing. I didn't get the announcement, didn't get the memo. So I got sick of my long hair and how it was just causing me to sweat more than I already do, which is too much to begin with. And I started off the same way I did last time. Number 3, put the number 3 clip on the buzzer. And you do the sides and the back. That's pretty easy for the most part. And then I try to get too cute. And that's what happens when you try to get too cute on the top and the sides. I figured, I've seen this before. They just kind of pinch and then they cut whatever's sticking out between your fingers and you should be good to go. And apparently I think I took out a huge chunk right in the front, like front right section, right here in this section. This is where the bleacher creatures are. This is the rowdy part of the ballpark. It's just a whole lot not going on there. So it turned out awful, and my wife is very polite about it, which I appreciate to a certain extent. But then, you start to buy into it and you think, yeah, because it's just the two of you during COVID. You're not going into work. You're not seeing anyone. So you just say, you know what? You look at yourself in the mirror and then you look at yourself again. And it starts to grow on you. It's like the more you look at it, you get the more beer goggles you get. And you could be sober as a judge, but the more you look at it, the more you convince yourself, you know what? This isn't a hatchet job. I don't look like I've just been scalped by a red wolf. No, this looks like I could pull this off. And then you get on a FaceTime with a friend, and that's the first thing they call. They don't even say hello. It's just like, oh my God, your hair. Yeah, I know. And when I was a freshman in college, that was, when you hard up for money, you don't have a job in college, or you want to save your beer money for beer. You don't go to the barber, or at least I didn't. You have a pair of clippers, razor, and you just buzz the whole thing. Same level on all sides. And that looked okay because there was plenty of follicles to go around up there. And since in the 20 years since, they all got their pink slipped, they all got their walking papers, and they've hightailed it, and they retired to the island. And the receding hairline is in the front, and then it's also attacking at the top of the dome in the back, and they're joining forces right here down the strip. So I might have to go the Michael Jordan route. I might have to go the Brian Urlacher route. I don't know if hair plugs are my future. I know that it's worked for David Portnoy Esquire, El Prez. So maybe that's it. I mean, most of my money now should be going to just trying to preserve my body. I think that's it. Any other luxuries have to take a rain check, It's like, well, we got to think about preserving your body and preserving your face and your hair and your look. That's basically all that my 40s will be. 40 coming right around the corner, coming in hot. Whew. But, it's like I probably had it right with the haircut. There was a stretch of time where it was pretty much acceptable if I just let it be. But there was like one or two little hairs that were out of place. And I thought, if I just apply this clip, and then if I go snip, snip here, clip, clip, snip, snip, buzz, buzz, it'll be perfect. It'll be my masterpiece. And of course, slipped up. The hands are not as steady as I would like them to be. It's why I'm not a surgeon, amongst other things. I mean, I also can't stand blood, guts, or anything else. The Kevin Ware video, I haven't really watched that. Can't bring myself to do it. I remember seeing Frank Gore. Was it Frank Gore? No, Willis McGahee, when he was at the U. I saw that and I said, no thanks. Never again. I still can't watch the Joe Theismann video. Nope. And I'm just a big old wet ass pussy. I'm a whap, as they say. Boy, that video, huh? That is just wow. Cardi B. And is it Meg Thee Stallion? Which is such a phenomenal name for a female rapper. Couldn't have picked a better name. And they're just like, I mean, I thought Salt and Pepper. I went to a social gathering, socially distanced social gathering, not this past week, in the previous weekend. We threw on a little Salt and Pepper playlist, and I still to this day get intimidated by that trio, if you want to include Spinderella. But really, it was Salt and Pepper that got me all hot and bothered and gave me the old fear boner. When I was 11, 12, they were popping off, and I was like, I am intrigued. I will continue to stay tuned, but if I ever get in a room with you two, I don't know that I'll be able to satisfy you. Me, a middle-class suburban white kid, not even in puberty yet, had that thought go through his head. If I ever get in a room with these two, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle them. And I get that same feeling when I watch that WAP video. Like, here are just two women that are equally adept with their mouth as they are with every other part of the body. I mean, they're just jiggling and wiggling and contorting, and it's just like, I mean, what do you want me to do? I don't even know what to start. I certainly know how it's going to finish. Shame. So WAP. Some people are calling it WAP, and I'm like, I don't know if you want to say that around the Italians. I'm quarter Italian, so I'm a quarter offended. But so we did go to a socially distanced social gathering. Some would say it's a COVID party, but that was not the intention, is to get COVID. If someone did, well, that's what happens. It was a 1-year wedding anniversary for my mother-in-law. Congrats to them on making it 1 year. It's a huge accomplishment. That's just like big time, trophy case material. We ended up playing a little beer pong, which I think that might be my first beer pong of the summer. And I was a little rusty, but also first cornhole of the summer. And summer's like over. What the fuck happened to summer? Holy shit. Played some cornhole. Actually, think my left hand is not as useless as it used to be. There's a rule that we have to kind of level the playing ground, that I have to play with my non-dominant hand, my weak hand, my left hand, which, it is so weak. I cannot believe that sometimes I just forget I have a left hand. You're just so used to doing everything right, where you're like, the left hand is just kind of overflow, Like when the levees break, they have like the backup gulch now. I think this is the backup gulch or ditch. Like it's just for whatever overflow there is. I'll carry like 5 bags in my right hand, and then the one bag that I can't get my right pinky on, that'll go in my left hand. So I would play cornhole with my left hand and play beer pong with my left hand. And I actually got pretty decent by the end of the night. Of course, it's about a trillion beers deep, a zillion beers deep, if you will, for all your stoolies out there. And Jared Hughes is good. So happy we got him. So, I was a little anxious about the party. Not gonna lie. The gathering was less than 25 people, which I guess is legal. And I brought the baby because Cass, my wife, was what the hell was she doing? She was somewhere else. I forget. Somewhere important. So I know that much. But she would meet us at the gathering, and someone tried to shake my hand right off the bat, and I said, no offense, but I can't. And I should have gone for the knucks. The knuckles. That's like the go-to now, the knuckles. And I just didn't. It just was too quick, too soon. I don't think of my feet quick. Not a quick thinker on my feet, and that's why improv would have been a bad choice for me. Although, I don't know. So, yeah, didn't even bother to say, hey, knucks, just give an option, give an alternative. So that dude was offended, which stinks. A bunch of people that I didn't know. So that kind of creeped into my anxiety. Like, where have you been? Who have you been with? Tell me your whole life story now. So, interrogating people here and there to see what the threat level was, doing ocular pat downs as Mac would do in Always Sunny. But I ended up loosening. And I guess I would say my stepfather-in-law, I don't even know how to refer to him, but Poppy is what Bree calls him, my daughter. And he offered me a monstrosity of a shot of JMO. That's usually the nightcap. That's usually the end game. Like, hey, if you're still standing and you still feel good about remembering, you still have a shred of memory left in the little noggin, throw back a tall JMO shot and just coast into the blackness. But yeah, I needed to loosen up because I was very stiff and anxious about everything. Even though it was outside, people are not like making out or anything, but it's, you start to I get very technical. Like, is this 6 feet or is this really 5 feet that we're talking right now to each other? Is this 5 or 6? I almost carry a tape measure with me, or I'm trying to nonchalantly kind of stretch and reach out my arm because I know my arm is like 3 feet. And I'm like, all right, that looks like that's about half of what it should be. So, and I wore the mask into the house, and I was like, and then I peeped around the corner. I'm like, oh, no one's wearing a mask. So I don't want to be the only one wearing a mask. And I'm going to be drinking anyway. So yeah, that happened. But good time though. Beer pong, plenty. Salt and pepper up on the limousine. Lots of food. So much good food. And I think the part of the anxiety is like I did the Peloton ride. PR, 45 minutes, no big deal. And 45-minute house ride with a British dude, Ben Aldis, who, and I've mentioned this before, British people don't sit well with me right off the bat. And that's not British people's fault. That's just my own weird, thing I got to work through in my head. I don't know if I'm still bitter about, the tea thing, King George, that whole thing. I don't know. But the Brits, the like Hugh Grant just drives me up a wall, and chicks love him. But, there's cool parts to the British, and sometimes the way that they speak, the accent, it just slaps correctly, hits the right way. But it has to be the right way. Otherwise, other accents, British accents, they don't really jive. They don't really connect and click as they should. But Ben Aldis, boom. Yeah. He's got like a nice soothing tone, and him talking about Tiesto, we started with Tiesto and now we're ending with Tiesto. I mean, that's a horrible British accent, but that's why I hit my PR, So did that, but I didn't eat lunch. And then I get down there at like after 6, and I'm starving, and I'm concerned because I see, I'm thinking, okay, this is like our first kind of medium sized gathering. We've had, 3 people in a room, maybe 4, 6 people outside, but no larger than that. And of course, I also have my mother forwarding me like Facebook clickbait stories and articles every freaking day about someone dying from COVID. That's exactly similar to what I just told her. Like, hey, we're doing this thing. Like, oh yeah, someone died because of that. Hey, we're thinking of like, oh, well, yeah, someone died. Yeah, but like we've checked this out. We know this is good, 100% safe. Yeah, but I hate to tell you, someone died. It's like, all right, everyone dies, Ma. What do you want me to do? So, that's going through my head. I'm starving. I'm hungry. And people I don't know, it's just you come into a situation when you're like the last person to arrive. Almost never good. Sometimes it can be good. Depends on the crowd. I told this story, but like going into a Halloween party in the Philly burbs, with a bunch of friends, they didn't know me. I didn't know them. I walk in, hey, what's going on? Shotgun this beer. Yes, sir, I will. I mean, that is a welcome. Right? That's how you roll at the red carpet. Here, it's like I'm the last person to arrive. I got a kid with me. No one else has kids. And then everyone's just sitting around, not really talking. And then you walk into that. Crickets, dude. I mean, can we just like erase this, loop it back 10 seconds, and I can come with a boombox or confetti or a foghorn, air horn, rockets, lasers, smoke. I don't know, something. But it's tough to walk into that cold environment. But yeah, I mean, I had a conversation about guns in the kitchen, AKs and ARs and how to build your own gun. And I'm just so out of my element. So out of my element. I was like, am I overdressed? Am I underdressed? I was overdressed. And yeah, but had fun playing cornhole, had fun playing beer pong. That's all I need. Beer pong, cornhole, maybe a little food. So much food. So much food. They had I mean, tray after tray, like 6 trays, macaroni salad, potato salad, regular salad. And then Poppy was cooking his world famous ribs, which were amazing. And then you had like a dip, nacho dip, like a ground beef multi-layered nacho dip. So good. With like maybe green beans and fuck me, chips. Just a little bit of everything. And we didn't even make a dent. That was fun packing that up. And then I was, like a pig in shit the next day. Like, hey, you mind if we take this? And they're like, yeah, of course. We're not going to eat all that. It's like, I was just kept on hoarding. And I still feel like I didn't take enough. It's like, you would have thought I was back in college. So ended up being a good time. It was funny though, because, there was that moment where we didn't know if we were staying over, which we've now found via therapy that I don't do well with curveballs and things that are unplanned and unscheduled and just happen on the fly. I'm not good with that. I don't handle that well. And so not knowing if we were going to stay over, that causes havoc. It wreaks havoc in the old cerebellum, the medulla oblongata. So it's like, are we staying or are we not staying? Because if we're not staying, that means that one of us has to not drink, and that sucks. And if we are staying, like, are we going to be able to actually sleep on a bed and not a couch? Because sleeping on the couch stinks. And so, my sister-in-law is like giving us, updates every, like, panicked or crazed updates every 5 to 10 minutes. Like, so-and-so's drinking and so-and-so's done this and there's no bed set up. And it's just like, So yeah, anxiety was through the roof, but they ended up getting 2 of the guys there to set up the bed. And of course they did it while they were, half in the bag. So we go up there to like put the baby to bed and to put the sheets on the bed that they set up, and it just keeps collapsing. And I'm thinking to myself, man, it's diet time for this guy. I know that's probably, I probably said that no less than 1,000 times in my lifetime. But it was like, if I'm just like leaning or kneeling on a bed and it's breaking, yeah, we gotta cut the carbs. We gotta double down on the Peloton. But no, they just didn't set it up correctly. It was like the loud crashes, several loud crashes that people were like, it became conversation downstairs where people are like, what's going on? What do you think they're doing? Is he domestically abusing his wife? It's like, no, your Poppy and his BFF just didn't know you had to swing the old lever to the right there and screw it in. So I am still amazed that there are times where I have the golden touch with the child, because her trying to sleep in a foreign territory somewhere else does not always usually go that smoothly. And I just got locked in vocally. You hit, it's like the brown note. The brown note will make you shit if you hear it, because it affects your bowels somehow. I think I have like the golden note when it comes to the kid sometimes, and I can't repeat it. It's not muscle memory just yet. I kind of just slip into it. It's kind of like Will Ferrell when he debates in Old School. But she was crying her tiny little titties off, and I came in and laid down a smooth R&B jam right in her ear, and she was down for the count. So, so hungover the next day. So hungover. But we had lots of leftovers, and I mean, that was one for the books, where we just both were just sacks of shit on the couch and eating all day long and watching. I mean, it was a pretty nice day out too. We just, no, thank you. We did take a walk outside to start the day, to go to a park down the street from where, Gigi and Poppy live. And my daughter, I can't believe that she doesn't have typhoid or gangrene, the bubonic plague. Like, this little human loves water, drinking water of all kinds and all types. Doesn't matter where it is, how it's presented, what color it is, she is going to put it in her mouth. I told you in a previous episode how if it rained outside, she would then, there are like rocks, this little like cul-de-sac, there are rocks in this little garden area in the middle of the cul-de-sac. She'll go and she'll slurp the water out of like the little divot in the rocks, or she'll just lick the raindrops off the car. Like, people think that we are seriously depriving you of basic human necessities at this point, because you just cannot keep it together. Just ask for water. We'll give you water. And no different with this playground. Gets on the playground. It had been raining, I guess. There was water left over. And we're all just sitting there on the bench because we're all tired and hungover. And we see she hasn't really moved. There's a tube, with the cutout circles in the middle of the tube. It's a tube, from the slide to the rest of the playground area. And it's quiet, and you're like, okay, whenever there's silence, that it's not golden. That's bad news bears. And all you can hear is just like slurping. She's slurping the rainwater out of the tube in the playground area, which is like on top of the fact that there's probably so many germs and hands that have been all over that tube. There's now rainwater, which is dirty, mixing in with that, just like accelerating the sickness, accelerating the disease straight to all your most sensitive parts of your innards. Yeah. So that was the first weekend after the last episode. And then we had the tropical storm Isaias, I think that's how it's pronounced, which was a hurricane, or I don't know. All I know is you can't call it a tropical storm and then the path goes over like inland New Jersey. That's not how that works. Shouldn't be how it works. We're in a county in New Jersey that does not border the water. Okay. We are inland by a good half hour or more. Tropical storm shouldn't come close to us. And yet somehow we still got the brunt of it. So we have like outdoor, this kind of caught me off guard. It did and it didn't. I probably should have paid more attention. But this is what happens with hurricanes and tropical storms. There comes a time where you hear so much of it, but you're not in an area that is typically that affected most times. And I mentioned this before in another episode. I forget which one, but there was one in 2011 where everyone got like super scared. And then there were memes about like, a lawn chair that had been tipped over. So then Sandy comes along and we're like, this is just like blah, blah, blah. Hurricane Patricia, whatever the hell it was called. And that fucked shit up big time. But then this is a tropical storm. Like, is this a hurricane or a tropical storm? So it's like, this ain't tropical around these parts. Not sure if you checked out the Yelp reviews, but we're not tropical up in this area. So I wasn't really paying attention. It was like, I guess, PSE&G, our energy company, they have to kind of say, storm preparation, because if they don't, they get sued. I don't know. And, everyone has to do their due diligence that feels like obligated to. But in all seriousness and reality, like, it isn't going to affect us, right? So didn't really prepare until, the school, the daycare center is like, hey, we're closing down at 12 today, 12 p, noon. High noon. And so that's when I started kind of perked up and I was like, maybe this is more serious than we thought. And so we had outdoor furniture, patio furniture. So I had to bring that in, which was a pain in the arse because it was raining at that point. And trying to get all that crap in was just such a kick in the dick. And then trying to do remote work while that's happening. No bueno. Power's going out for this one. Power's going out for that one. Power's going out for me. I'm trying to give mid-year performance reviews to coordinators, and the power keeps going out, and it always ends on like the most awful word, like, yeah, well, you're fired. And it's like, they think they're fired, and it's like, no, your fiery disposition is what keeps us all energized. But our friend's power went out because she is by the shore, and she stayed with us for a couple of days so she could get her work done and feel like she's part of the 21st Cinch. So that was fun having her over. It felt like a little staycation almost, having her around, which was cool. And she also got to witness firsthand the hurricane that is my daughter. So she would not put up with it. And I think, Bree would see that and be like, oh, so she kept Bree in check, which was nice. And I got a full dose of Bree over this past weekend, because my wife would then help her friend that stayed with us move from her place at the shore. It's like, you couldn't have picked a better time to move away from there. It's like your power went out. Now's the time to go and get out. So she helped Friday night and most of Saturday into Sunday with the move to Philly. And so I had the babes Friday night and all Saturday, part of Sunday. And Friday night I had to walk the neighbor's dogs. The neighbor was away as well, because we've gotten friendly with the neighbor. And so I had to walk the dog, and it was, again, my anxiety and my panic levels just never know when to just take a breather, take a time out, just sit this one out. We don't need you going full strength all the time. It's Friday night, baby. But nope, not the case. So I was worried that I would have to, she's like, my wife just rolls with the punches because she's like that. She just grew up like that. And so she can do it. I'm not. She was like, yeah, just take the baby over and then you and the baby can walk the dog. And I was like, two living things I have to keep my tabs on at all. What? By myself? So no, I waited to put the baby down, and then I went over to walk the dog. But of course, like, the instructions, at least from my standpoint, it's never goes according to a plan. It never, they have all these things that they tell you, and then you get into the situation. It's like, well, this wasn't covered. And like I said, I don't do well with curveballs. So I sit straight heat. I need someone banging on a trash can for me to hit the ball. You know what I'm saying? Can't do well if I don't have a guy on second signaling that a curveball's coming. And so when something is not there that should be there, that's when it's panic city from head to toe. But I survived. Although there was a period where I didn't know, because it's been a while since I've walked a dog. I will put that out there in the world. It's been a long time, because when my mom moved down to South Carolina in 2007, she just had like a backyard, and the dogs knew you go in the backyard, you do your thing, and then we call you and you come back. Pretty awesome arrangement in IMHO, where we don't have to get a leash and then put it on them and walk them. So it's been probably a good 20 years, 19 years since I've actually put a leash on a dog and walked that dog around the neighborhood and had to like pick up dog shit, because I think back when I walked the dog, it was a puppy, and we just walked the puppy around the yard, which we had, fairly a nice sized yard. And so the puppy would just poop around the yard. And then I would make note, okay, I'll go get that guy later. Don't need to pick it up right now just yet. Or we had, actually, eventually, I think we got one of those pooper scooper type things where you grab the handle and the jaws of life open It's like the claw at in Toy Story, but like you put it down, boop, grab it, and then you pick it up. And then I don't know what you do with it after that. I don't know what we put it in. I never did the bag on the hand thing. That's the TLDR, bag on the hand thing when the dog shits. Have not ever done that. So I was nervous about that, coordinating like that as I still have the leash, knowing that the owner of the dog has said, this dog is an escape artist. Oh boy, way to put the fear of God in me, or the fear of dog in me. You know, small dog, very small dog, but quick and fired up, enthusiastic to be alive and to be, with me and outside. So when the dog, this is the weird thing. The dog stopped to pee a good 10 to a dozen times. And I'd say the first time he stopped to pee, something came out, which I'm great. Good for you. The other 8, 9, 10 times that he stopped and lifted his leg, nothing. So it's like well wishes, you know, good intentions are paved. I don't even know what the hell the expression is. But all I could tell you is this dog was firing blanks. And I know he's trying to mark his territory, and you got a lot of ground to cover. Small dog. There's only so much urine to go around in that bladder. But damn, like, you gotta realize you're running on empty there, fella. But anyway, he stops to take a poop. And that's when I know, okay, I got to get the bags out, the little plastic baggies. And as I'm trying to like rip the plastic bag off, I'm fearing with all 72 inches of height and 240 pounds of weight, fearing that this dog is going to just fucking take off. Like, it's quick. It's a lightning bolt. So as I'm clutching, I like wrapped the leash around my fist and clenched it hard as I'm trying to rip the plastic bag. Got it on my hands in a way that I could grab it and then pull it out, and we're good to go. But then I was trying to also knot the plastic bag. So that was round 2 of the fear cycle, where I think, okay, as I'm knotting it, he's going to take off again. And no, he did not, thankfully. He did give me another spook, though. I mean, it's a fucking dog walk at night, Neal, like in a complex of people that are just trying to go to bed off of, you know, a quiet street in the middle of nowhere. Like, what I don't know what happened to me that I have these thoughts. But, you know, I'm walking him, and he does this thing where his ears go straight up. So he's noticed something's on his radar, and he is just like furiously trying to get at something. And I can't see it. And I think, okay, could be a deer. And I feel like deer I can handle. Like, the deer will run away. It's not going to, like, if it comes at me, hooves out, I think I could defend myself using the dog as a shield. But there have been talks about, like, there's a fox in the area, and it's like, okay, foxes shouldn't be a problem. But then there's talk about coyotes, and that and then I remember like talking to my father-in-law on Father's Day about, okay, so if you come across a coyote, what are you supposed to do? Because if you come across, that's another thing we talked about, bears. If you encounter if you encounter a black bear, you're supposed to act, you know, make yourself as huge as possible and scream and yell as loud as you can, appear to intimidate the black bear. And I was like, and so then I said, oh yeah, brown bears too, right? And he's like, no, you definitely do not want to do that. Like, okay. He's like, you're supposed to stay perfectly still if it's a brown bear. And I'm like, I've already convinced myself, if I ever encounter something in the wild, peace out, man. It's been a good run. I appreciate and I'm grateful for everything that's happened in my life. But you can have my DVDs, my stereo, my baseball card collection. So coyotes, I don't even know. Like, you're supposed to get big and loud? Are you supposed to like make fart noises? Are you supposed to do like the electric slide? I have no idea. And so this dog is like trying to like fly through the air, literally. Like he's jumping and I've got him on the leash, but he's jumping and he's like getting serious hang time, Jordan style. And because I think he sees something or smells something or hears something, one of those three. And I can't see because I haven't had contacts or glasses ever since Great Wolf Lodge. Don't know where they went. They're gone on an island somewhere with the dude from Shawshank Redemption. So I got that going through, pumping through the brain. And, just a nonstop fear. When does that end in the anxiety? Does that stop ever? How many pills do I have to take? How much do I have to drink for all that to go away? So, yeah, that was that Friday night. And Saturday, we binged Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3, Toy Story 4. All those and more on Saturday because I just didn't have it in me. Again, the fear and anxiety of me being responsible for taking Bree to the pool was too much for me. Just couldn't bring myself to do it. It's actually probably not that hard, but you just get inside your own head and you think to yourself, with the wife there, it's like 2-on-1. One of you misses something, the other one's got your back. You got that support there. 1-on-1, I'm not good 1-on-1. I'm more of a zone defense type of dad. I'm not a lockdown defender. And so I'm not the glove. I'm not Gary Payton. I'm more of a Tim Duncan hanging out under the rim. You come in my zone, I'll swat you type of guy. Type of dad. So, So we just sat on the couch and I just like kept feeding her snacks, just laid out a smorgasbord of food in front of her. And it's like, what do you want? Point to it. Great. What do you want on TV? Point to it. Great. And that's that. I mean, to all 4 Toy Stories, I think maybe Onward, Moana, and Lilo and Stitch. All in one. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 movies. And that's how I got by because I went to bed way too late Friday night after 1 a.m. up watching American Dad like an asshole. She woke up at like 7:30. So I was just like in no mood to do any kind of responsible fathering. And luckily she bought in. The key was that I kept the blinds and the shades down and the big shade over the the sliding glass door in the back. If she can't see the outside and how glorious it is and how beautiful it is and how much she should be outside, she won't know that she needs to be outside or wants to be outside. And then she just settles right into her spot on the couch like a good couch potato and veggies out with me. I'm such a horrible father. Wow. And then I worked on the screenplay a little bit Saturday night, a little bit. I had stared at a computer screen for probably 2.5 hours, and I wrote probably a page. It's just so fucking hard. Even with like a half-baked outline, I just can't. It's not flowing just yet. That's with a few dozen Bud Light seltzers in the system. I've started mixing like hard seltzers with Tito's vodka and ice cubes in one big camouflage mug that keeps it nice and cool, and it does the job. After that, I'm feel like I am ready to take on the world. So the wife came back on Sunday with McDonald's. They got the chicken bundle. Apparently they panic ordered at McDonald's and got the chicken bundle. And so had McDonald's Sunday, and then, the hangovers, they last longer than the time that you were enjoying yourself now. We're at that age where I've been experiencing it for a few years now, and I think Cass, my wife, is just starting to get into that now, where it's like, you better make it worth it. Like, if you're going to get hungover, you might as well get the most hungover. You know what I'm saying? Might as well go balls wall, because that hangover is going to last you a lifetime. So if you're going to get drunk, make sure it's memorable. Make sure it's with friends. Make sure you do something worth, story worthy. Don't just waste it on a night by yourself. Really get into it, because you're going to feel that for like half the week, maybe more. So bananas. But yeah, she came back with McDonald's, and I welcomed it wholeheartedly. And another beautiful day that we did not enjoy. And Monday, McDonald's again. Why not? Back-to-back McDonald's. Whew. Made me think about that dude who he's had one Big Mac every day for like 30 years or more, something like that. And he's not like a fat ass or anything. I mean, I'm sure I'd like to take a look under the hood, see what's going on inside. It's probably not a well-oiled machine, but at least he's not a complete lardo. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? No body shaming, right? So, yeah, that's life. Let's talk about the Mets. Let's talk about the fucking Mets. Through 8 games, the first 8 games of the season, the Mets have lost games in which they had a 75%, 79%, 95%, and 97% chance to win. Yikes. So you could say we should have 4 more wins at this point. We just lost tonight 2-1 to the Nats. So we're now 7-11. So everyone gets a free Slurpee. I think that's the deal, right? SNY? Mets? No one? Okay. And you could say the bullpen is a major reason why through those first 8 games that we had a chance and let it slip away. It was Diaz, but that was July. And you look at August and things are different. Let me see if I can find this stat. Come on, where you at, girl? Come on, where you at? Where you at? So I think this is before the weekend, this past weekend. The Mets bullpen over the last 3 games leading up to August 7th, 10 innings pitched, 5 hits, 0 earned runs, 5 walks, 10 Ks. And that's exactly what you want. And I think a big reason why that has happened is partially due to Jared Hughes. Partially due to Edwin Diaz not being completely atrocious and like somehow escaping. He's so frustrating to watch. I'm flummoxed by watching him because he'll make 2 people look silly in the batter's box. Just silly, swinging through stuff. Not even close. And then the wheels just fall off for like 3 hitters. And then he'll buckle down and he'll punch another guy out. Very weird. But the bullpen has come on fairly strong. And of course, right when the pitching starts to come through and starts to be dependable, reliable, the offense goes to complete shit. Of course, the big stories since we last talked, Yoenis Cespedes opted out, apparently, and Marcus Stroman has opted out. We didn't know he opted out. The team didn't know he opted out. Some players had a suspicion that he had opted out. The coach had no idea he opted out. But that was an interesting few hours. This was on the drive back, hungover from the socially distanced social gathering. On the drive back, I see on Twitter the statement from Brodie. Hasn't shown up, hasn't contacted us, and so my initial thought wasn't, oh my God, is Yo okay? And that's on me because my empathy is severely lacking and I'm trying to work on it, trying to put myself in other people's shoes. My first thought was, okay. And I since deleted the tweet because it doesn't need to be up there, but I'm going to own it. I tweeted out, police are, retweeted the statement from Brodie, and I put, police are on the lookout for this suspect, and I put an animated GIF of a wild boar. All right. Knowing what we know now, pretty funny. But at the moment, we didn't know what the hell was going on. He was considered a missing person by the team and by the organization. And so there was a possibility that he could be dead. And people, even like Clem joked about it. I think most jaded, cynical Mets fans who have been through the ringer and this fucking shit show 3-ring circus of a season all kind of had that same make a joke response, because why not pile that on? Why won't Yo just totally not show up to the ballpark? Of course. He's probably out on the golf course or something. That's the initial thought. The initial thought wasn't, oh my God, is he dead? Has he been kidnapped? Anything like that. My mind did not go there. But other people, they did think that way. And they were saying, I hope he's okay. And then you start to see more and more of that come through your timeline. You're like, ooh, okay. So I deleted it because you don't need that out there. You don't need that bad juju out there. People have been fired for less, so uncanceled for less. And I'm pretty sure I'm already canceled. I've been fired more times than I care for. So, yeah, there was probably halfway through the game or more, we still hadn't had word, but the Mets tried to cover it up by saying, that he's healthy. We know he's okay, but we have not been in contact with him. And it just devolved from there. So, again, I don't think people are against athletes opting out for health reasons because they want to take care of family, themselves during this really just insane time. Not faulting anyone for that. But Jesus Christ, dude, give the team a heads up. And who knows how it plays out or how it's different if the Mets weren't. What the hell was their record at the time? 3-8. They had a really bad losing record, 3-7, 3-8. On top of that, Yo was really struggling. At one point he was 2 for 15 with 9 strikeouts, which is like, whoa, dude. So, but to opt out the way he did, it's just odd. Very, very odd. Contract year, DH, so you don't have to worry about playing the field and hurting yourself in the field. You can just really focus on mashing the ball and getting that big money in the offseason as a DH. Who knows if people are he'll fetch the kind of money that he could have if he put on a show, but he didn't. And so he opted out, citing coronavirus. But then you see stories come out afterwards from like the New York Post saying he was unhappy with the team limiting his reps, limiting his at-bats, limiting his playing time because his contract was laden with performance incentives and bonuses. So the more he's not in the line, the less he's in the lineup, well, then the less money he's owed. So, okay, understandable. But dude, we're not going to play you if you're not hitting the ball. You can't go 2 for 15. And I know people have cited, well, Pete Alonso he's hitting well below the Mendoza, and he's still in the lineup day in and day out. It's just different. Yo hasn't played in 2 years. Pete's probably more in a slump, sophomore slump psychologically, where his woes are carrying into the field and he's making errors in the field because mentally he's just all over the place. And Keith Hernandez pointed out that his swing is just different this year. His hands aren't as steady. There's a lot of movement coming through on the swing, and that might be part of it. So, you could make an argument, and I've said this, why not just sit Pete have Dom or have Pete just be a DH where, he's not taking his thoughts into the field and making errors in the field. So you have Dom at first and you have Pete DH. But yeah. People have said it's extremely irresponsible of the Mets to make it sound like Yo was missing and possibly in some sort of danger. They walked it back and said he's not in danger, but as usual, Mets are making it worse. And like Brodie's press conference was just one for the ages, saying that he wasn't trying to shame Yo, that he was just trying to be transparent in real time. And sure, I guess I could buy into that. If they don't report it, is the press like chomping at the bit even more? Like, why hasn't anyone said anything? What's going on here? Would the madness would it be even more out of hand? The speculation and hearsay and all ruminations and all that. Or could you have worded it better? Yeah, probably. And then there was this tweet. What a way to end the career of Yoenis Cespedes with the Mets. He came in, lit the city on fire in a run to the World Series, re-signed and took less at one point to stay. And then it was a rocky road with some crazy twists, and it ends with an opt-out. Here are his final totals of his 4-year, $110 million deal, which with BV Dubs as his agent from 2017 to 2020. So 4-ish. Should have been 4 total seasons, but ended up being 3 and whatever you call this season. And Yo played 127 games, had 28 home runs and 75 RBIs. I mean, when you see those numbers, it really just it gets under your skin. And he's still, still had problems and issues with the money and the contract and not getting played. It's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. But if the Mets were 8-3 and he wasn't seeing playing time, would he have stuck around? If they're 3-8, but he's just hitting the shit out of the ball, does he stay? If we're 8-3 at that point or whatever we were, and it's a huge winning record, we're in first place, we're up by a handful of games, and he's tearing the cover off the ball, no fucking way does he opt out. So it was a culmination of things. Poor performance tied to money, poor performance of the team, poor performance on individually, and then all culminated, and he was just like, nah. And apparently Brandon Nimmo caught wind that Yo was unhappy with it and that he was going to opt out. But Luis Rojas had no clue, and it completely shocked them. And Brodie Van Wagenen had no idea. So it's not healthy. It's not a healthy clubhouse. I'm actually kind of shocked the season's still going on. I would have thought it would have been canceled, I think last Monday. They were saying that they were thinking about Rob Manfred was threatening to cancel it because players weren't taking it seriously, and players here and there still aren't taking it seriously, which makes you wonder why they didn't go with the bubble approach after all. But because you have guys traveling to party with some friends, driving up, partying, and then trying to fly back with the team, and it's like, you can't do that, dude. So I think Linda Cohn put out this tweet, I forget who, but the more teams that play themselves out of playoff contention, the list of players opting out due to COVID concerns will rise. It's like, yeah, if that's an option, people are going to take it, especially when there's no point in playing and you're completely out of it. So if it's not canceled before the end of the regular season, the end of the regular season is going to be super duper interesting. But part of me thinks that if the Mets do go on to turn it around, I mean, when they were 6-9, 7-9 before they lost the past 3 to the Phillies? No, 2, 3. I don't know. When they were 6-9, 7-9, they were basically tied for the second wild card spot. So as shitty as they played and as much as they've looked awful, they're still somehow in the wild card hunt. And you look at the rest of the NL East, I mean, despite the Marlins at one point being 7-1, they have a bunch of guys making major league debuts that were playing Double-A ball last season, and they have to make up all the games that they missed because of COVID. So you're looking at them having to play a ton of games in a short amount of time. You have the Cardinals who have to play something like 55 games in 45 days or something like that. How is it even possible? You just don't get a day off, and you have to play double headers. I mean, eventually they're going to drop like flies, or they're just going to succumb and say, throw in the towel. So I don't know, but my brain's conflicted because the mantra that we got to believe, the Barstool Mets podcast, Clem and KFC and Kyle have been saying is like, the season is fraudulent anyway, and Uncle Stevie's coming, referencing Steve Cohen buying the team. But it's almost like a badge of honor to win this season, because it's just, if your team can survive all this craziness, you almost can't put an asterisk on it. You almost put like 2 asterisks and say, yeah, season was short, but goddamn, trying to fight off a disease while playing ball in under tense circumstances with, limited time off, with all kinds of schedule changes and this and that. It's like, I almost think it's like an even more heralded championship than just a regular season World Series championship. That is the ultimate spin zone on my part. Credit to me. So the other major storyline that I touched on, other than Stro, is our offense just becoming straight up anemic. We got runners in scoring position. That one game where Yo was missing and no one knew what the hell was going on, something like 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. I saw this stat. Mets are hitting 172, 10 for 58 with runners in scoring position during their 5-game losing streak. Yikes. The Mets have had 2 or more runners on with less than 2 outs in 5 of the first 6 innings. I think that was on that Sunday. I don't know. I don't even know how to fix that. I think guys, just with no one on base, the guys have a more relaxed approach at the plate. And then when they get guys on base, ducks in the pond, they just tense up and they try to mash the ball. And it's like, you just put it in play. I mean, give us something. Bases loaded, no outs, 1 out, just hit a fucking fly ball. It's easier said than done, but I mean, you can only imagine. And I think there's a stat that I'm going to throw out there pretty soon that should illustrate just how much the offense sucks in certain situations. But then we had a bunch of injuries at the beginning of last week. McNeil with lower back tightness, which he came back from. Rosario with left quad tightness, which he came back from. Cano with left groin tightness, which, say what you will about Cano, but he was actually the best hitter on the team during that losing slump, that losing streak. He had 13 hits in his last 22 at bats at one point. But he's on the DL, but those injuries afforded opportunities to some guys, and it shook up the lineup and the roster a little bit, and it feels like it has a little more success. Gimenez at second or short, and then you have JD Davis at third, which he made some outstanding plays at third. I'd still like to see Dom get more playing time at first, but and then they went and they went and got Billy Hamilton. Could have grabbed Billy Hamilton off the pile this past winter, and now it cost them Humphreys. It's weird the Mets made the trade for Billy Hamilton before knowing Cespedes was opting out for the season. Just a weird coincidence. Weird coincidence indeed. Those are a couple of tweets that I saw about Hamilton. Yeah, I mean, I thought we should have got him when he wouldn't cost us a prospect. And now we get him, and I think he provides. I mean, for some reason I held on to the belief that Brandon Nimmo was a average to above average center fielder, and then I watched him struggle with ball after ball over the weekend. just balls that should be caught, balls that he had such a hard read on. Anything hit directly at him, it's just like, forget about it. So with Marisnik still on the IL, which, Jesus fucking Christ, Marisnik, they went and got Hamilton. So he provides a boost in center field, boost on the base pass. If he gets on base, it's just he just can't hit the ball. And I don't know about his arm either. So, and it cost us a player. So, I mean, Brodie Van Wagenen, I think at this point you got to give him an F for sure. I think that there's no real bouncing back from this unless this team can turn around and I guess win a championship. But Jesus, man, the moves he's made have been awful. This is a tweet I saw. He has now traded 6 prospects to get Keon Broxton, no longer with the team, Jake Marisnik on the IL, and Billy Hamilton. Types of players available on waivers or on minor league deals. Not a good use of resources. Agreed. Our offseason additions this past offseason, Jake Marisnik on the IL, Micah Wacha with a 6.0 ERA. This is before his most recent start where he didn't fare well. Rick Porcello had like a 13.5 ERA before his last 2 starts. So I think his ERA is hovering under 6 now because he had a pretty good performance the other night, I think against the Marlins, and then tonight 6 innings, 8 hits, 2 earned, 5 Ks. I mean, that should be enough to win the game, in my opinion. So I'm not going to fault him for that. But his ERA is down below 6 now. So maybe he's turned a corner. It's just the first couple games, it was like, ooh. And then Dellin Betances had almost an ERA of 16 before this most recent week. So not looking great for BB Dubs. I would be shocked if he's with the team after this season. I think he's done so much goddamn damage. You think about the prospects we've given up: Kalenic, Tony Buckets, Simeon Richardson, whatever. So many players that could provide such, especially now given the situation with our starting rotation and with Stro opting out. Ay. Of course, the defense hasn't helped things. Well, before Gimenez, I think with Gimenez and Davis in the field, we are faring better. But the best and worst defensive teams by UZR, a friggin' stat I've never heard of in my life, ultimate zone rating. So apparently someone has taken the time to divide the field up into zones. And this is used to measure fielding. So they compare the event that actually happened, hit, out, or error, to data on similarly hit balls in the past to determine how much better or worse the fielder did than the quote-unquote average player. So at the top of the list, the Orioles, plus 3.9. And you have the Twins, A's, Rockies, Cubs. Bottom of the list, the bottom of the bottom. Mariners at minus 2.3. Astros at minus 2.8. Reds at minus 2.9. Royals at minus 5.4. And Los Mets, the Metros, at minus 6.5. And that's what happens when you have outfielders in the infield and a center fielder who shouldn't be in center field. And a second baseman at third. And I mean, when everyone's playing out of position, you cannot expect good results. And, if you had just average players in those positions, who knows what our record would be right now? Who knows what our record would be if we just played average ball? And this goes in line with what I was saying before. The Mets have scored 4 runs for Jacob deGrom on not his most recent start, but the one before. deGrom is 21-17 in 66 starts since 2018. Had New York been able to score 4 runs per game for him in those starts, he would have been 59-3 with 4 no decisions. And there would be zero argument about him being the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. With his 67th career victory, deGrom passed Steve Traxel on the Mets all-time win list, which it makes me what? Short circuit, thinking that Traxel and deGrom are mentioned in the same sentence. It took Traxel 160 starts to get to 66 victories, and it took Jake 174 to reach 67. Ugh. I feel so bad for him because he's so good to pitch and he's just getting better. It's bonkers. The guy is like regularly hitting 99 and 100 on the fucking gun with his fastball. It's just, I mean, and it might be a little too fast. He's got that blister issue on his finger that that put a scare into everyone on his start against the Marlins over the weekend. John Olerud turned 52, and I bring that up because of this stat. He received 0.7% of Hall of Fame votes his only time on the ballot, which is a travesty. Dude hit 500 doubles, 255 home runs, over 1,200 RBIs, won 3 Gold Gloves, and had I don't even know what that stat is, but it's a pretty good stat. Also walked more than 1,200 times compared to 1,000 strikeouts. And underrated, cool guy, cool old rude move is when he walked. I don't know what it is, but every time he walked, he always had like the very effortless like toss of the bat to the dugout. It was almost like it's like he's emulating his swing, but it's just tossing it to the dugout. They have got to change. There's got to be like a second coming to Jesus redemption vote for the Hall of Fame. I feel like there are so many guys we talk about that should be in the Hall of Fame. They should all be put on all those guys should be put on a ballot each year until they all make it in. Basically is what I'm getting at. John Olerud, before he meets his maker, should be in the Hall of Fame. There, I said it. We mentioned Rick Porcello. His numbers tonight, his numbers in the previous start, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned, 4 Ks, and 81 pitches, which tells you how bad he was at the beginning of the season, that he's putting up those kind of numbers tonight and the start before. So my confidence in Porcello is back. My confidence in Matz is out the door, out the window. All this hype and all this talk we had coming into the season, like this is Matz is going to turn around. He's just got to be consistent. I think he's learned from his mistakes, blah, blah. And then he gets his like fucking shit pushed in against the Nats. And I just don't see him as I just don't see him as a reliable, viable starter in our rotation. But what are you going to do? He's like now our number 2, now that Stro has opted out. And, fucking Stroman, man. He pitched 4 or 5 innings in a simulated game. It looked great. They had the pitching ninja, Rob Friedman, like tweeting out animated GIFs of just like electric sliders and changeups. And he just looks so good. And he's very, vocal on social media. Stroman is. And you get hype about him returning. Like, he's going to come back. Like, okay, we don't have Thor. Waka's now in the IL. We've lost Wheeler. Like, we really need, Matz is kind of shaky. Porcello's iffy. Would really be nice to get Stro back in the swing of things. And then he's like, oh, nope, I'm opting out. Like, fucking A, man. Fucking A. So what's the upshot? This kid claims to be a Mets fan. He grew up playing against Mats, so him and Mats are buddies. And this is the tweet that is really the nail in the coffin. In the end, the Mets traded Anthony Kay, Tony Buckets, who's already a serviceable major league pitcher, and Simeon Woods Richardson, who scouts really like and think can be a major league starter, for 11 games of Marcus Stroman on what wound up being a third place team. We were in I mean, you could go back and forth on this. The debate rages on. I mean, we were not in contention when we made the trade. We then went on a fucking tear and were in a position we were in the playoff hunt. We were in the race. We were there. and it didn't pan out like we would wanted, but we were on pace and we were tearing it up. And if we got into the playoffs, like if the playoff rules from this year were in effect last year, we would have made some waves, but we didn't. And he didn't really make. I mean, for all the hoopla and like the noise that came with Marcus Stroman and the hype and whatever, he didn't really pitch that well down the stretch, and it just sucks, dude. It just sucks. And he's going to go into free agency. Like, and I understand you want to look out for yourself. You want to look out for your family and you're opting out, but it's like, motherfucker, like, why now? Why when you're healthy? Why now? Is it because you look at the team and you don't see a competitor? You don't like what's going on with the organization. There's something outside of, oh, well, it's just COVID. It's coronavirus. It's becoming, as many people have said, I guess you have to respect the decision. You have to look out for your health and whatnot. But at the same time, it seems like it's a cop out now. The opt out is a cop out, as they say. So where does that leave our pitching rotation? Where does that leave our starting rotation? I have had the game on mute, so I don't know if they've announced the starting pitcher. It was supposed to be Waka tomorrow, but he's got shoulder inflammation. And we don't have Stro. So we got DeGrom, Matz, Porcello, and then you're looking at SNY put together this list of 6 pitchers the Mets could turn to to insert into the rotation to help out now that Marcus Stroman has opted out. And the top candidate is Robert Gesellman, who is now off the IL. I saw him tossing in the bullpen over the weekend. He hasn't started a game since 2017. Not ideal, but then again, nothing's ideal right now. He's been recovering from a triceps injury. So it's kind of like next man up, whoever's got the experience, whoever, gives you your best shot. And I guess it's Gesellman. I know that We Gotta Believe has been pushing for Lugo to become a starter, but I'm fairly certain that Lugo said he didn't want to be an opener. So I don't know if he wants to be a starter again, but that certainly could be an option. And I mean, beggars can't be choosers, If you do, so how does it affect your chances of winning if you do insert him in the starting rotation? And you hope to get 5-6 innings out of him. Well, then you don't have Lugo coming in as a closer or as the stopgap in the 8th or the 7th to stop the bleeding, or, to come in and get the hold, So you might have to just insert Gesellman and Lugo. But now there's whispers that Walker Lockett might be the guy that they turn to. He's not, I don't think he's on this list, is he? I don't think he is. No. But that was another name mentioned. Franklin Kilome is the next one on the list. He had a Tommy John surgery last year. I'm not familiar. But he did allow 2 runs in 4 innings while walking none and striking out 5 in his debut earlier in the season. Kevin Smith was at Double-A last season. Back of the rotation guy. Not yet on the 40-man roster. Very little experience in Double-A. He only threw a little over 30 innings last year to be promoting from High A. So, but they do say like David Peterson was in the same boat, and David Peterson so far this year has pitched above expectations. Next on the list is Ariel Jurado, acquired via trade from the Rangers last week. I guess they needed 6 options because, like, why would you insert a guy that has almost a 6 ERA and a 1.51 WHIP? No. And then Corey Oswalt, like, almost has a 7 ERA, 1.48 WHIP. Allowed 5 runs and 7 hits and 3 homers and 4 innings of relief. So that's probably a no from me, dog. And then Erasmo Ramirez, last time he had sex was in sex. I mean, yeah, it's probably been this long. Success in the majors was 2017 with the Mariners. He's also not on the 40-man roster. So, at this point, there's not much you can do. I think maybe you give Lockett a shot. If Lockett gives you 5 innings of semi-decent ball, it almost doesn't matter who you throw out there to pitch because we don't hit the ball. We have 0 offense. 0 for 4 with runners in scoring possession with 7 left on base tonight. They're just not, there's 0 production in that lineup. So it almost doesn't matter who you throw out there. I mean, we got our pitchers, starting pitchers and bullpen giving us really good efforts, and the offense is just not producing. So not looking great for the Mets right now, except for there's a couple bright spots. I'm going to try and end on a good note here for all y'all. Jared Hughes, 3 2/3 innings, a hit, 0 runs and 5 strikeouts. This was as of August 9th. We already gave you Edwin Diaz's numbers in August so far. Not bad. So the pitching staff coming along. Mets are 1-4 at home this year. This was before the weekend stand with the Marlins. 1-4 at home with a 5.28 ERA and a 673 OPS, which is like average, below average. So who's producing? I mean, Jeff McNeil has a bunch of multi-hit games. Michael Conforto and Brandon Nimmo reached base safely in all 13 games up to the 13th game. Nimmo had reached in 28 straight games going back to last season. So you got those guys. But the bright spot for me that he gives me a feeling similar to, I guess, maybe Jose Reyes when he first came up, David Wright when he first came up. I guess you could put him in the same camp as Alonso. If we're talking across sports, he gives me that same feeling as Saquon Barkley, as Odell, and that's Andres Gimenez. Should Gimenez continue getting starts? Absolutely. And I said that last week. I think, just keep Cano on the bench if you can. Maybe put him at DH now. I think that's might be the best answer. Try and alternate him and Alonso at DH, depending on who's on the bump. But Gimenez has to be in the field, either at short or at second, every single game. The guy is making outstanding plays in the field, and he's hitting the ball, and he's smart about it. The drag bunt that he got to hit, he's had, I don't know how many triples he has so far. Here's a list of Mets with 3 hits, 3 runs, and 1 stolen base in a game before their 22nd birthday. Jose Reyes in 05, Jose Reyes in 04, Ed Kranepool in 63, and Andre Gimenez. Most hits by a rookie this season. Kyle Lewis, 21, Lewis Robert, 19, Phillip Evans, 14, Andre Gimenez, 11. I think, oh boy. Oh, the power of Christ compels me. I don't know how you sit this guy. He's just electric to watch. Fun guy, enthusiastic. He's a headlight. He's a spark plug. He provides that jolt that the offense so desperately needs right now, that I can't see why you would take him out. But the offense is just struggling right now. Struggling. And I'm not sure what it's going to take for them to get back on board. But it's like, if this team could just click at the same time, it seems like that always seems to be the issue. If the pitching is the issue, then the hitting is not the issue. If the hitting is the issue, pitching is not the issue. They can't coordinate. They can't calibrate. And if they do, I mean, it's not going to take a lot to make the playoffs. Just make the playoffs, and then, it's a whole nother ball game, literally. So that's the Mets. Good God, they're entertaining. I'll say that. There's never a dull moment with these assholes. But let's talk about the Giants, the NFL, and the Giants. I don't understand this opt-out deadline. You have to opt out by a certain deadline because if feels to me like a lot of players will just opt out whenever the hell they want. I don't think they need, you're still going to see players opt out during the season, I think, unless there's like severe penalties in the NFL that I don't know about, because MLB got players opting out and opting back in left and right. But there were 66 total players, 67 players that opted out from the deadline. Some of the biggest names, Travis Benjamin for the Niners, Eddie Goldman for the Bears, Andrew Billings for the Browns. Looking here, Damian Williams, who's like a playoff gamer for the Chiefs. Looking here, Allen Hurns and Albert Wilson II for the Dolphins, Marquise Goodwin for the Eagles. We talked about Nate Solder last week, Damari Scott, who's like a wide receiver, practice squad guy for the Giants, Sam Beal, and that's the one we're going to talk about. But other big names, Josh Doxson for the Jets, CJ Mosley for the Jets, Geronimo Allison for the Lions, Devin Funchess for the Packers. Pats had a lot of guys. Brandon Bolden, Marcus Cannon, Patrick Chung, Hightower Lacoste, Marquise Lee. Raiders had a trio of players, D'Anthony Thomas for the Ravens. And then, those are pretty much the big names. But yeah, Sam Beal is the latest Giant to opt out. The legend of Sam Beal grows by the minute. This guy, I don't know that there's ever been a player more highly praised and touted and revered who has not seen like a lick of playing time. Yes, he came in towards the end. It was alternating with Baker on the outside last season and played. I can't tell you. Played well, average. I mean, he wasn't, with all the talk surrounding him and how much, he's going to be such an impact player and such a positive influence on the team. I didn't really see much. So I think you saw more out of Julian Love than you did Sam Beal. So him opting out, which, is fine. That combined with Deandre Baker getting officially charged, the Giants are now short at corner. Let's take a look at the charges on Baker. Let's see if I can find these. Prosecuted on 4 counts of robbery with a firearm. If convicted, mandatory minimum 10 years and up to life in state prison. So odds are not looking good for DeAndre Baker. So without Baker and without Beal, Giants have a kind of a shortage. It's weird. It clears up the secondary competition a little bit, but there's also still a little, there are not a lot of sure things in that secondary either. Of course, you got Bradbury on the one side. Your safeties seem to be a pretty set in stone. And now you don't have Beal or Baker on the outside. Who goes on the outside? Is Darnay Holmes a guy that you plug into the outside? Maybe. He'll certainly compete. And then on the slot, is it Julian Love? Is it Grant Haley? Is it Chris Williamson? So still a lot of question marks. And so after the opt-outs, I think there's Field Yates or whatever his name is. He put out like the official cap space for each team after the opt-outs, and the Giants clock in at 12th most cap space with $21.4 million. And so people are like, oh, you got to go out and sign Javian Clowney. You got to go out and sign Yannick Ngakoue. You got to make a big free agent splash. I think I've been pushing for Logan Ryan to be the guy that they target. And we can now definitively understand that why the Giants have not signed Logan Ryan. It's because Logan Ryan wants to play safety. He does not want to play corner. And apparently his agent emailed all 32 GMs with like a chart highlighting his stats against all the top 32 safeties in the league, or the top safety per team in the league. And his stats comparatively look really good, or look, comparable, in line with all that. We have too many safeties. oddly enough, we got McKinney, we have Peppers, and Julian Love is somewhat of a safety. And we have Nate Ebner now. So safety is not as much of a concern as it is corner. So it would be really great if Logan could reconsider and then move to the corner, but that doesn't seem to be happening. In the meantime, what is the deal with this Ross Cockrell thing? This deal? It was welcome back, Ross Cockrell. And it was like, we're all like, hell yeah, welcome back, Ross Cockrell. This is great. In 2017, he has 74.1 coverage grade with the Giants. And then 2019, he had the 8th lowest NFL passer rating for a cornerback with a 68.1 QB rating. And he was injured all of 2018, but he's had 3 seasons of 70-plus coverage grade since 2015. Outside corner. Lanky, biggish kind of guy. And then they were like, and then today they say, it's not finalized. There's still some more talks to be had. It's almost like Ross Cockrell saw the kind of reception he got on social media and was like, I need to negotiate this a little more in my favor. You guys need me a hell of a lot more than I need you. So, I mean, just get the deal done. If you overpay a little, I mean, obviously you're not going to overpay too much, but you can overpay a little for this guy. We're a little hard up right now. So Logan Ryan's probably out. Ross Cockrell hopefully is in. Even if he's not in, or even if we do sign him, there are still 5 corners on other rosters who could help the Giants. I did not include the 5th. This is from Big Blue View. I did not include the 5th guy on this because it's just seemed like what? Why would you include that guy? So it's really, for me, it's 4 corners that the Giants could target. And Big Blue View makes a case for each one. The first is Nick Needham from the Dolphins. He emerged as a starter last season, but with the influx of talent, might be the odd guy out. And it's possible the Giants could work a trade for him. And I think Big Blue said he's worth a 3rd-round pick, which seems a little high. So I don't know if I'd go that route. I'd rather not have to trade for a guy, especially if we have Cockrell. If we don't have Cockrell, then maybe we'd consider it. Justin Hardy from the Saints is number 2 on the list, 6'1", 195 with 4.36 speed. He's a converted wide receiver, and he might get cut due to the Saints' wealth of talent. 3rd on the list is Tim Harris from the 49ers, 6'1", 205, 4.4 speed. He is injury prone, but he did start in the Super Bowl, and he might end up on the practice squad. So, I think he held his own against the Chiefs. I mean, tough. Travis Kelce is the Kansas City Chiefs tight end. That bothered me so much after the last episode that I couldn't think of fucking Travis Kelce. And I rattled off, as I'm trying to think of his name, I rattled off all the things I know about him. And there were so many things I know about a guy that I couldn't remember his name. It pissed me off. Has a brother on the Eagles. He's an offensive lineman. He had his own dating show. He's wanted to negotiate a contract as a receiver. All these things. All the things. Number 87. Blah, blah, blah. Number 4, Quentin Meeks from the Chargers. 6'2", 210. Good instincts. And collected 3 straight multi-interception seasons at Stanford. That kind of piqued my interest because it's like the Giants are really high on Stanford guys right now. They got Blake Martinez. Was Cam Fleming also Stanford? I think they have a couple Stanford guys now. So was Patrick Graham a DC at Stanford? Am I making that up? Probably. But so they have an affinity for Stanford guys. I think the 5th player here was a Pats corner. I don't know. Never heard of the guy. And they were saying that, he played with Joe Judge. So maybe that's why they would bring him in. I don't know. So hopefully we can land a deal with Cockrell. And then it would be, I guess it wouldn't hurt to add another veteran guy. But, I think people are underestimating Darnay Holmes. I think Julian Love might have an opportunity to get some more playing time elsewhere outside of safety, possibly in the slot. So I don't know. I'm not as worried, especially if we get Cockrell, about our secondary. Taking a look. What else on my news and notes we got going on here? Yeah, Dave Gettleman is quickly approaching Brodie Van Wagenen status in terms of GMs on the hot seat. He's been on the hot seat for a while, and he's gotten a lot of criticism. And I'm going to give you the cons first and then the pros. All right. David Gettleman gave partially guaranteed contracts to quarterback Case Cookus and defensive end Oluwale Betiku as undrafted free agents, and both were released this weekend. And that goes back to what I was saying last week when it comes to dead money. A lot of Giants are number one in dead money at $116 million or something like that. And it's just, I hate dead money. I hate it. And I understand it, but I hate it. It's like, I had a problem. Like, I was worried that we were going to be late to the daycare because they charge you a $30 fee if you're late. And we're not that hard up as a family. $30 is $30. I mean, it's not that much, but just the fact that we're spending $30 for nothing, for a penalty or fee for being like a minute late, just boils my blood. But so here's the pro. Giants are number 2 in Football Outsiders list of under 25 talent. So we have a lot of young talent that I don't think Pat Shurmur knew what the fuck to deal with. But I think Joe Judge does know what to deal with. Football Outsiders lists our blue chip players as Will Hernandez, Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence, and Andrew Thomas. I think there are a few more blue chippers you could probably add to that. Gettleman inherited a 3-win Giants team with the number 2 pick in 18. Barkley again broke a tackle on more than 1/5 of his touches in 2019. Looks like a generational running back at just 23 years old. 18 hurries in his rookie season. Dexter Lawrence showed surprising versatility for a player who looks the part of an old school run stopper. Jones was the biggest surprise to get him as many surprising draft picks. Successful rookie season. They point out Darius Slayton might not replace Beckham, but his 9.6% DVOA rookie season showcased badly needed efficiency and field stretching. I mean, Deandre Baker, boy. I mean, speaking of Deandre Baker, we traded, I think this is from Big Blue View, just to put things in perspective really quick. Oh, by the way, the Ravens are number 1 on that list. So I mentioned that because it kind of makes you think, are we the next Ravens? There, I said it. The Giants traded the 30th pick. For the 30th pick in the 19 draft, Seattle traded away the 37th pick so that to get Baker, to get up to the 30th pick to get Baker, we ended up giving up pick 132 and pick 142. Seattle traded away the 37th pick they got from the Giants and drafted offensive tackle Greg Little, who's become a decent player. They also drafted safety Ugo Chukwu Amadi and Ben Burr-Kirven at 132 and 142 respectively. Did any of those names jump out at you? No. So, yeah, we did trade up. We gave away, our second round pick and two more picks, but none of those picks have turned out yet. So is it a horrible trade? Who knows what we could have done with those picks? Maybe we would have, Seattle is terrible at drafting. So maybe Gettleman is, I think he's better at drafting than at least Reese was. So who knows what Gettleman would have done with those picks if he kept them. But damn, really would love those back. Is it possible to get those back? So how about this fun fact? Sterling Shepard is the longest tenured Giant. Holy shit. He was drafted in 2016. The Leonard Williams designated with a non-football injury, which is just, that was like the cherry on top of a shit news Sunday. I mean, it was just like hit after hit after hit. Rosas released. Baker exempt list plus 4 counts with minimum 10 years in prison if guilty, and Solder opts out, and then then Beal opts out, and it's like we're just gonna dabble a little Leonard Williams non-football injury on top of that. It's like, god damn. Jeremy Fowler spoke to nearly 60 NFL personnel, GMs, head coaches, exec scouts, vet players, to stack top 10 players at 11 positions, and he got intel on nearly 200 players. And Saquon is the number 1 running back, and Evan Engram is the number 7 tight end. So, yeah, that's what's up. It's just like, is Saquon another Barry Sanders where he's just like such a amazing talent on such a shitty team that maybe goes to the playoffs once? It's like, I hope not. Andrew Thomas is already a top 25 offensive tackle in the NFL. That's good news because he's going to be your starting left tackle. So, offensive line seems to be our biggest liability now. We did sign Nick Gates to the extension. I don't know. The more I think about this NFL season, I just don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, everyone seems to be acting like it's going to happen, but I just don't know if can you really move around the schedule as much as as Major League Baseball is, and even baseball is struggling with that. So I don't know. I don't even know if this is going to be a season, which fucking sucks. It just sucks. No college football. So the Pac-10 and Big 10, Pac-12 and Big 10 have canceled their fall sports and are going to try and play in the spring, which really sucks. But if it means that we get NFL on Saturdays from the get-go, as opposed to just like December or November after college football usually ends, then I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool. I just trying to. It's such a struggle, trying to get 2 days of football in on the weekend in the fall when you're married, kids. And then Darius Geis, running back for the Washington football team. I was just mentioning how I thought the Washington running backs, that crew was severely underrated on the PFF list that we had. And of course, I must have put a jinx on him, a curse, because he's facing 1 count of strangulation, which is a felony, 3 counts of assault and battery, and 1 count of destruction of property. And he turned himself into authorities. So he's donezo, which could leave Washington in a tight spot if Adrian Peterson. I mean, AP is a pretty all day. I mean, all day AP. He's a pretty solid running back, but like if he does get hurt, who does Washington turn to? I mean, they still have Bryce Love, Peyton Barber, and JD McKissick. So I think they got plenty of depth there. And then I kind of hate to end on a sad note, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Bob Tisch, the Giants co-owner, his daughter Hillary Tisch, died at the age of 36. She had a severe bout with depression, which is unfortunate because, I've been diagnosed with clinical depression, so it's tough. But what's the alternative? I guess that's what my mom always said, and it kind of stuck with me. Is like, well, what is the alternative? The digital afterlife that we've seen in Upload and in archive doesn't exist yet that I know of. So what is the alternative? It's just sad that sometimes people, even with that in consideration, decide to end it. So Hillary Tisch passed at the age of 36, which really sucks. So I feel so bad for Bob Tisch, but hate to end on a bad note, but I felt like it needed to be mentioned that, same old that you hear every time, someone talks about depression. Just ease up on people a little bit. Some people are going through some hard shit. And I don't know. I feel like I've turned mine around. I mean, if you listen to my shit from January, there were some episodes there. I was like, are you on a cliff right now? And then, through therapy and medication, that I've kind of righted the ship a little bit. I mean, anxiety is still, I spent the first half hour talking about my fear and anxiety. So it is real. But I don't want to end on that note. I can't end on that note. So I will say this. Even with Beal gone, I don't know that's a major loss. Baker gone, I mean, is it really a major loss? If we can finalize with Cockrell, which God willing it will happen, I think you have a pretty decent set of corners on the outside with Cockrell and Bradbury. The numbers have shown that. So at least we're getting guys that aren't going to get just fucking torched and manhandled every game. So that's good. At least minimize the damage a little bit. You now have two, what I would consider to be elite safeties. I think Jabril Peppers can take that next step if he stays healthy. He's a playmaker. And Xavier McKinney has been described as a friggin' Isaiah Simmons, who were all over and wanted with the number 4 pick in last year's draft. So I think that's a steal. And who knows how Dexter Lawrence develops. Leonard Williams, in what could be a contract year, might come out the gate and just play out of his mind. Like Martinez probably has something to prove, with everyone saying that he's slow and criticizing him, even though he's been a tackling machine. You don't know where you're going to get out of Ryan Connolly coming back from injury. Marcus Golden is back. Combine him with Cockrell and Gimenez and Zoe. I mean, the defense, if they can just string 4 consecutive quarters of good football together, we'll see some more W's on the board. We'll get some more notches in the W column. Now it's the offensive line, which, I mean, if you go by Madden, Andrew Thomas was rated higher than Soldier anyway. So really, I don't know what. I just got a feeling. I haven't watched enough Andrew Thomas over the course of games. I've seen highlights. I've read pieces. I've seen rankings. I think this dude is going to be our left tackle for a long time to come. I hope he is. And with that settled, the fact that you have depth for the first, I mean, even though we lost Solder and you lost depth, Cam Fleming is a good signing. Nick Gates, they just extended. So there's something there that people are seeing in him that maybe is flying under the radar that people don't notice right off the bat, but that he's a consistent, solid player. Zeitler is top of his game. Hernandez could have a bounce back year. Maybe it was just a sophomore slump. You got to figure out the center position, whether that's Gates, whether that's Lemieux. But I don't think the offensive line is as bad as people make it out to be. It's all about staying healthy. Can Jones stay healthy? I mean, he's bulked up. He's muscular. So I think he went the Phil Simms route. He realized I can't play at this level with this kind of body frame. I need to bulk up a little bit so I can take a beating and stay healthy, stay in the game, because our team does better when I'm in. Saquon stays healthy. Ingram stays healthy. Shepard stays healthy. Tate stays healthy. Slayton stays healthy. If you can if you can keep all these guys on the field for more than 12 games, you're going to come out of this with a winning record and possibly a playoff spot. And that's that. That's my little spiel. That's my rant. That's my motivational speech. Stay healthy, y'all, especially during this fucking pandemic. Unbelievable. But I hope to God we have a football season. I hope to God. Yeah, so that's it. No movies or TV this week. Hopefully you enjoyed this abridged version at a cool hour, 50 minutes. And we'll hit you up on the flip side. Adios, muchachos.